And hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Midnight Magic Musings channel. I am your humble host and tour guide, Lord Cephas. Tonight, I am joined by the Earl of Florida, but I'm also joined by special guest, friend of the family. He is family. He appears on our shows periodically. Broken Ansible has returned. Broken Ansible, how are you this fine evening?
I am the law.
Okay, so Broken Ansible is channeling Judge Dredd, apparently. All right. Never
Now,
speak against the judge.
is it Sylvester Stallone or Carl Urban?
Yes,
It just depends on which one you've seen.
I love them both.
But you never speak against the judge. I think we can all agree on that.
They're both good movies. They're both good judges.
They are excellent judges. Earl, how are you this evening?
I am dancing on cloud 9 because cloud 8 had no reservations.
So you're basically walking on sunshine is what you're saying.
Hey,
Does it feel good? That's the other question.
not ain't doing that again.
Okay, well, moving on, since he doesn't wish to play along. All right, everyone, we've got some good topics this week we want to jump right into. And the very first one is the Mandalorian season 3 trailer dropped during halftime of the Tampa Bay Buccaneer and the Dallas Cowboy game on Monday night, which Dallas finally got a playoff win, which we will talk about hopefully next week on a new venture that we're gonna start as well. We'll save that announcement for a little bit later in the show. So, Earl, we're going to start with you. What did you think of the Mando season 3 trailer?
I think it was better than the previous one. I did enjoy the fact that it almost looked like Din Djarin may be starting a clan.
Mhm.
I didn't care much for the I must return to Mandalore to atone for my sins or whatever. I'm like, I didn't really care for that particular line, but maybe he, steps on it on a little youngling or something, and that's the thing he's got to atone for. I also, saw the lightsaber scene swinging around. I'm not sure if that's previously backflash. Maybe Grogu's having, nightmares. It looked like around Revenge of the Sith or earlier time frame. So I'm going to just go on a limb and assume that it's probably the past. But then you also noticed some of the TIE interceptors with the longer noses that we saw in the sequel trilogy. So I'm curious how it's going to play out. I'm a little bit more hopeful than the previous trailer, but I'm waiting with bated breath.
Okay, well, don't pass out on us because the show will have to be abbreviated if that takes place. All right, Broken Ansible, what's your take?
So I'm going to preface this while I just watched it right before joining up.
Okay.
So I haven't had time to decompress. My first impression of it was, wow, is this actually Disney? Because it actually looked good. It's very pretty. Like the quality of the camera work, the quality of the CG was actually really good. The space battles really stood out. I love that they have the R4, is it R4D5 or R5D4? The red droid from the original movie. Yeah, so he's actually, been in the extended universe or Legends, whatever they call it. They've really tried to add him back in. I always loved that because R2 did him dirty. And that droid was just trying to make its way through the universe. So I'm glad that they incorporated it. The Mandalorian planet stuff, first of all, I think it all just looked visually appealing. The space battles, the jumping out of the drop ship. I actually, let me step back at the very beginning. I was actually rolling my eyes when they first started in the voice. I love the lady that plays in the original first season and, the blacksmith.
Right.
But I was like, you're wasting too much of season 3 on things I already know. Just give me the goods. But once they did kick it off, I thought they did deliver. And it looked more like Dave Filoni story arc is in the books. It did not look like something that would be cooked up by, the other side of the house. So I'm hoping, I am I actually am hopeful because it looked better. I was not looking forward to it. I was just like, whatever, Star Wars is dead. So, but that actually was like, okay, let's do this.
Cool.
Well, to give you a little bit of a feel good, Dave Filoni was on hand and he helped hands on with the scripting for actually the 4th and 7th episodes. So
Okay.
it was Bavara with Dave Filoni with definite hands on. So it might be a return to the first season.
Yeah, and I hope they take some of the cues. It looked like there's a couple parts where they were really pulling the Christopher Nolan heartstrings.
Mhm.
You know, you have the lone ship flying kind of at a zoom out. That was very interstellar. Some of the shots actually look very interstellar. I thought the space scenes were spot on. Like that is what space movies need to look like when they're Star Warsy. And what I mean by that is action packed.
Mhm.
You know, Star Trek, it's all about the Enterprise and maybe a couple, skirmishes, but it's all about like the cutting a sword through space, right? It's this, the Borg ships are just like, hey, let's take these overwhelming like destruction shots, then they scope out in, 4 scale, like the battle at the Wolf 359, is it?
Mhm. Yep.
You see the ships that are usually like the swords in space are just like little, forks and knives compared to a Borg ship. That's one type of space scene. Star Wars brings something different. It's more romantic, it's more intimate, it's high speed ships, and they usually, when they cut to like fleet battles, they usually talk over it, right? It's usually like they show a sweeping view, and then they cut to, if it's the Empire, it would be the bridge or the small calamari and bubble cockpits from the Return of the Jedi scene,
Right.
where they're trapped. That's Star Wars, but everything else is like these really fast-paced moving pieces, and I think they really honed in on that. You saw a lot of this in Rebels too.
Mhm.
Like they did a lot of that in Rebels, and it looks like they've got the live action in that same vein. So the future is bright if they can keep interest.
Mm.
So
And just to pick up on a couple of things that you said, I like what you said about this is Star Wars. One of the things we talked about last week is Star Wars should look like places we know from the Star Wars universe. I know what Star Wars looks like. I know what it sounds like. And if it's not that, it's not Star Wars to me. I think having Dave Filoni working hand in hand, as Earl was talking about, is going to be excellent. I think you're going to continue to see an influx of influence from Rebels. We already had Bo-Katan added into the storyline last season. She appears in several of the clips in the trailer. Actually looks like she's sitting on the throne there of Mandalore. So it's going to be interesting to see how that lore, no pun intended, plays out as far as reunification of the Mandalorians, I guess is what they're shooting for. Seeing the different helmets, the different clans of Mandalorians, if you will, it kind of seems like at some point there's going to be a uniting of the different clans or the disparate groups. That could be interesting for what they're doing. The callback with the droid from A New Hope, I think is very interesting. Now, there is a legend story out there. People feel free to go look it up for yourselves, where that droid in the story was force sensitive and could tell that R2 was to get Luke in touch with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and purposely deactivated, messed himself up so that could progress. I'm not saying that they will go ahead and dig that legends. Well, actually, it's a legend of a legend story. But it is out there. I'm just saying, I didn't say it's a good idea.
So you're
but it
saying
is out there.
R2 didn't actually sabotage him?
There is a story out there where he did not sabotage him. The droid self-sabotaged.
It was R2D2 propaganda. Okay, the
Yeah.
trash can did it.
Listen, I listen to Coruscant Underground Radio. Don't judge me. I just tell you where I get the information from. Shout out to them. They're an excellent channel. here on
I mean,
YouTube
I love
as well.
R2, but I love the red droid more. Which is crazy because I really love R2, but I think that droid is underrated. Had he not have deactivated, the whole series falls apart. So
I don't know how you all felt. Did you all notice the scene, the cantina scene that was a droid establishment?
I
ne-
did not actually.
There is a scene in there, it's very brief, where it shows a bunch of droids at a cantina. I need the Mandalorian to walk in and them say, we don't serve his kind here. I mean, I just need that for a callback. I just think that would be funny to see.
It'd be funny, but I don't know if I need that in a television show. I need that for a comic book.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I think some of the story infusion and ideas are partially being informed or presented sort of from some of the extended comic book series. If what I think is correct, plus the Rebels, I think we're going to see more of that inspiration woven into the story. There's always the rumors that Sabine is going to be involved in the live action, that they're going to introduce some of the characters from Rebels. We'll see. I know Earl, not a big fan of the Rebels because he is a sympathizer
Monster.
for the Empire. We know that.
Well, my worry for the Mandalorian as it's progressing this direction is the fact that there's a very strong following for the Mandalorians. Karen Travis started the launch pretty much, doing her series of books with the Republic Commandos. But I mean, there's a very, very loyal and strong group behind Mandalorians in general, and what they're doing now is going to, depending on where he gets his inspiration from, could conceivably anger an entire group of people, or it could vilify them, or it could fill them with joy. But one of the problems with having a Mandalore, which is the ruler of the Mandalorian people, there's only one, is the fact that if they were all unified, they had to get smacked down to not be a blip in the sequel trilogy. I mean, so if they do all unite, then doom is coming for them because it has to. They're that important. They're that big of a force and threat united. So
not sure if I agree with that, and I will tell you why. And if you finish.
Oh no, that was one of my things is with all the clans united behind the Mandalore, they're a pretty big force.
I agree with the sentiment, right? They are a very warring race. I mean, they took a self-imposed neutral take because they know they are a vicious people. They are a vicious people. And I think they really played that up in the Clone Wars, where they know their roots, and they had the insurgents from Death Watch to kind of give, first of all, a call back to Star Wars Galaxies, the MMO, the belated MMO. But also we know that they are kind of like this fantastical, untouchable piece from when we were kids, right? Nobody knew anything about them. Right. They had the mystique about them. But what I see is the Mandalorians are, in my opinion, should be raised up, have to be raised up, because they have to go fight a war with or against something out in wild space. We know something from Admiral Thrawn's race. They are effectively keeping that area in check from an even greater threat. We never really know what's going on out there. We know that Thrawn's race is very, very has it on lockdown, but they are afraid of something. And the Mandalorians are effectively the only race right now that have a capacity to even launch into a long scale war. If they can get up their numbers, if they can unite, if something happens and they could bring this back into Rebels, because we know Thrawn and Ezra, you know, I don't want to give anything away.
Right.
There are things that are in motion that are unanswered. You know, they've pretty much, they destroyed Snoke, and Snoke was supposed to be a race of people that were kind of like watchers. When he first came out, that was the big hype. You know, they brought in this race that kind of watch over wild space. There's only a few of them. They watch over what's happening with Thrawn's people. You know, Thrawn's people, if you read his books, they are pretty much like the Empire, you know, like 8.0, right? They're very militaristic, and they're very strong-willed and procedural. And they are holding back something. We know, like, the Emperor wanted power and wanted to bring control, like the Death Stars, and the extended universe pushed into places where we got the Yongzheng Fall, right?
Mhm.
They started bringing these big bads that could cripple, you know, Star Wars as we know it. And I think, you know, they basically had the bio, right? They were the Borg for Star Wars. Probably did it, pretty much did it first, I think, possibly, or at the same time.
Right.
Great minds think alike. But I would like to see them use the Mandalorians as a kickoff. Obviously, where are they during, you know, the sequel movies, right?
Right.
They're nowhere to be seen. Are we in a world where Disney just kind of like says, yeah, we screwed up, you know, here's the new stuff? Or are they going to do it smartly and move them away from what they did? They need to separate their works. Take it in the direction that Rebels was going, take it in the direction of the, you know, the old legends, move people out towards wild space, let Star Wars be, you know, kind of resettle, and let's move on with this whole like Disney extended universe and having people live in that universe. Like,
Earl, what do you you want to respond to that?
Well, you know, in the massive expansion that is Star Wars, you know, Legends, Mandalore in Mandoy in the Mandalorian language means it's Mandaym, which is home of the Mandalorians. That's where their soul, where their Manda is. And you know, part of that's because the Or Beskar is on the planet. But you know, the 6 tenets of the Resolnar is about, you know, you raise your kids as a family, you raise them up as warriors. You wear your Beskar Gam, which is iron skin, is what it means in Mandoy. And you know, it's family, which is the elite, the tribe, which is the clan, and then you obey the Mandalore. And so they're not just these, you know, crazed berserkers. They have a very deep and enriched culture that comes from the expanded universe and all these different authors and everything that have expanded it. So they're not just some crazed, you know, when people think of the Mandalorians, they think of Boba Fett, a bounty hunter. Then you got Jango Fett, who's a bounty hunter. And so, I mean, there's so much more to the culture of who they are. And like Death Watch, for a lot of people, Death Watch was just a terrorist group that should have been eradicated. You know, that you have a few different splinters. Then you had the Mandalorians who were trying to be the new Mandalorians, which was more peaceful and more about economics and stuff like that. You know, that, so I mean, there's different factions within the Mandalorian culture that would make it difficult for them all to unite, because some of them look at the Death Watch as those that need to just be taken out and shot. Whereas Death Watch look at them like, if you're not going to do what's necessary, you need to be taken out and shot. And then you know, the Mandalorians who were raised in the clan, the elite, and whatnot, they were trained. Okay, it's about raising your kids, and it's not just oh, I have 5 kids. The Mandalorian culture, you adopt kids, as we saw a little bit in the Mandalorian. You know, it wasn't so much about blood, so much the spirit. And so they would take kids who survived like wars and battles and adopt them because they had grit. They would survive. They wouldn't give up. And so, I mean, I really, me personally, I don't see a Mandalore, the Allure of Allures, because the clans all had an Allure who was the leader of the clan. I don't see the Allures all following a Mandalore who's like, all right, guys, let's go to the wild space. Don't know when we'll be back. Don't know if we'll be back. We're going to go fight for the galaxy. They don't care about the galaxy for the most part. They care about their people, their culture. And
you put a knife to that people and culture and they'll do whatever it takes. And that is something they will unite around the Darksaber. They will, that is something, and we just don't know what's out there in wild space. And Mandalore doesn't necessarily have a planet, right? We're seeing the remnants of what's happened. They were decimated, remember that, right? They were effectively destroyed by the Empire. Their moons have been broken. You know, they were outcasts, effectively. Some of them are absolute traitors, right, for the Empire through the rebel stuff. So we're seeing the remnant being reformed, and we've seen it being reformed in several different opinions, right? We saw, Bo-Katan, and we saw the Death Watch come together. But I mean, there is an allure of the Death Watch mentality being the almost the modus that is the protect the family, right? They were trying to protect that ritualistic, idea of what it is to be a Mandalorian. They just were doing it at all costs, and they thought that the people, basically working with the enemy, the people that were watering down their society, trying to make them something different. They thought of them as the traitors who were in power, right? And you saw this at the very top of leadership in the Clone Wars, right? The right hand of the Queen, I mean, effectively, held a coup, right? So, and for a time they were ran by, Darth Maul. So they are definitely, there's a lot of positivity there. But what I'm talking about is they're the only ones that, are still intact after Disney. I mean, come on, there's nothing there for Disney. They've in the seventh movie they destroyed like how many how many planets did they just wipe out one shot? I mean, what's left? Like what is there? What do you want to see in episode 10? I mean, what's left? I mean, we're back to Kumbaya. Oh, we beat the big bad, the Emperor 2.0. We're now bringing Coruscant back into the picture, but who cares? We're getting more Coruscant than we ever wanted right now, right? We're seeing Coruscant on a, epic scale of talking in rooms, with Andor. So I'm just not sure that there's much there in the sandbox that Lucas made. They need to go somewhere else. There needs to be some existential threat that the Mandalorians are being brought in, because they are still they had the most mystique to them. A lot of people didn't watch Clone Wars, so they're learning about the Mandalorians for the first time through the Mandalorian show.
Right.
So this is your bread and butter. Don't just try and make like them either become the big bads or them become the face of Star Wars. It needs something else. There needs to be some, where the Force doesn't exist within this, and Grogu. How much are you going to rely on Grogu to bring you the Force?
Well, you bring up a couple of interesting things. One of the things we talked about the other day, Earl and I, excuse me, is that one of the comments that was made by one of the Lucasfilm staffers was, well, quote, we don't have any source material to work from. And our point was, oh, yeah, you do. You got 25 years of source material that we have read and we have loved and we've enjoyed and we followed. Dave Filoni, it seems, really comes from a different perspective because he's got his source material. He's got Rebels. So he's incorporating that in. I think that creates more of a cohesive storyline for the Mandalorian going forward. I think that's beneficial for that. That's number one. Number two, I'm really interested to see, and Mike or Broken Ansible mentioned it about I'm sorry, Earl, you mentioned the flashback scene. Is that Order 66? I'm going to make the assumption that it probably is, where you've got 4 Jedi basically seeing through the eyes of Grogu. Would they pull the trigger and do a cameo? Would they drop Anakin Skywalker in there and just wipe out those Jedi? Would that be something, not necessarily to pop the audience, but just to kind of complete that circle of, oh, it is what we thought it was. Oh, that's how it happened. I'm not saying we need it, but I'm saying that may be a thought process.
Yeah. Do we care?
Order 66 is a very divisive thing amongst the fan base. Some people want more of it. Some people want to just move away from it.
But we
And
have tons of. We have Bad Batch.
we do. They're in season 2, and there's some stuff from season 1 that's probably going to be incorporated into Mando season 3 when you start talking about some of the clone facilities and such. What happened with those. But I do like where this is going. I still prefer the Mandalorian, the gunslinger aspect of it. But to Broken Ansible's point, I do like the space stuff. I popped huge seeing that Naboo starfighter flying through the air. I really, really did. So,
this is just info that is stuck in my head, so I have to share with y'all. Talk about Coruscant and the Mandalorians. Actually, Coruscant was the homeworld of the Tong, who were the ones who were the Mandalorians initially, before they left the planet. So there's just a little random factoid that was thrown out there.
So you think they're going to try and take back their homeland?
Oh, no, they'd probably burn it to the ground. I would. Politicians and scum and villainy set it on fire with napalm. But no, that was just a random, Mandalorian is their home now, in the expanded and whatnot. So that will see.
I might actually enjoy. There's a video game that they're going to do. Was it Deck 13 or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
It was a beautiful video game that was scrapped that was supposed to release on the PS4 and Xbox One and PC, and they scrapped it. And I believe it became some inspirational material for the Mandalorian. Or a possible bounty hunter movie or show, which in turn gave us the Mandalorian thread. And if they did do some like down in the belly of the beast type of episodes on Coruscant, I don't think that would be a bad thing. And they tried with Yodel, the Yodel scene from the new Jedi like little stories that they have,
right?
Which was fantastic. But you saw that facility in the movies, in Clone Wars, and then in the Dooku Jedi stories. So it would be nice if they go below, like go down 100 floors or 1,000 floors in that city, because it does get into a different world. And there's so much untapped stuff there. They could probably do a more violent or more open book type of show there. Mm-hmm. Bring in bounty hunters, bring in Jedi. Like who says that Jedi weren't hiding in plain sight, right? That's a huge planet that goes all the way down.
Well, according to the Obi-Wan series, they are hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
And then they die.
I digress. We're not going to open that can of worms because I'll never stop talking about that. All right, let's go on to topic number 2, which is Avatar: The Way of the Water. It is at $1.9 billion. It is about to cross the $2 billion threshold sometime this weekend. It's getting ready to pass Avengers Endgame on the list of the top 5 movies of all time. By the way, 3 of them will be James Cameron films. You'll have Titanic, the original Avatar, and Avatar 2. Is he the most prolific director of our time? James Cameron.
Did he do The Abyss?
Yes, he did.
Did he do Aliens?
Aliens, the second,
Aliens, the second one.
and
Yes.
Terminator 2, two of the greatest sequels, in my opinion. I don't know if I'd say, I don't know if I'd use the words you used, but he has to be a Steven Spielberg,
Mhm.
James Cameron, George Lucas for action, fantasy, sci-fi kind of thing. I think those are three of your biggest names that you're going to have still at this point.
I agree with the prolific. I'm not saying that they're gonna resonate with everybody.
Mhm.
Especially the Avatar movies. Some people think they're, pretentious. Some people just say they're a ripoff of Ferngully. But
I've heard that, yes.
I do think that he knows how to tell a story,
Mhm.
whether you like it or not, and he knows how to draw your eye into them.
Yeah,
I
he knows how
think,
to tell the story too.
yeah, and he does tell, like, The Abyss is still one of the most fantastic movies of all time, probably a top 10 for me, the extended edition, the long one.
Okay.
It does more with that movie than the movie Sphere did. Sphere was effectively a knockoff Abyss. They deviated from the source material, from what I understand. And I might be wrong on that, but they basically gave you a discount Abyss movie,
Mhm.
and they just tried to lull you in with star power, where Cameron can just bring you in with just failing actors and people in Terminator movies. Michael Biehn becomes, like, he's known for Terminator, and next thing you know, he's known for Aliens, right?
Oh dear, you have stepped on Earl's toes when you besmirched the great
That's
Michael
my
Biehn.
boy.
I knew this
Oh,
was
I
coming.
love I love Michael Biehn, but
He's
people
also
knew
been-
him. Yeah, I mean, he's like a great 80s actor, but he was known for Terminator. And
Correct.
then Aliens came out, and, like, now he's like the Aliens guy. He's the face of every space marine that will ever live.
Right.
He did it with, like, not being a jerk. Like,
Yeah.
he's just like, I recognize Ripley's greatness. She's her hands aren't shaken, and she's not being pessimistic. She's being realistic. I'd follow her. Like, look, he's the smart guy. Alien 3 did him dirty.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, well, I think we can all agree, if nothing else, that we appreciate Jennifer Lawrence opening the door for Sigourney Weaver to be an
Yes,
action
yes.
star. Appreciate that. As far I just want to see how y'all react to that. As far
Tendering my resignation.
as you should. As far as the about to cross the 2 billion, what do you think that's more attributable to? Do you think it's the movie itself? Do you think it's because basically it's playing against nothing, and so it's just got a clear run, at least for the next 4 weeks before Ant-Man and the Wasp come out? What do you attribute this type of haul? Because this is something Disney has desperately needed. This is their first hit in a really long time financially.
Well, for me, I haven't looked at all the reviews or anything, so I don't even know the extent, other than the trailers for the most
Mhm.
part, what's going on in Avatar 2. The first one came out in 2009,
Mhm.
and so we talked about this the other week. It's been, what, 12 years. Why should I care?
Right.
But I did go see Avatar in theaters. I took my daughter at the time, who was 3, and we went and saw it, and she loved it. It was 3D with a little, they had the just transition from the red and blue glasses to the clear glasses.
I miss the red and blue glasses. You're talking my language.
So I mean, it even though, as it was pointed out, Ferngully or Pocahontas or whatever you want to call it, it was fun. It was family friendly for the most part. I mean, things died, whatever, it's in the cartoons of things dying, unfortunately. But I mean, it is what it is. So I mean, it was family friendly. It was splashy. The CGI was flawless. I like Sam Worthington and Stephen Lang and the other actors that they recruited, Zoe Saldana, Sigourney Weaver. I mean, it was a very good cast. And so, but 12 years later, I haven't watched any trailers, but I found myself going, you know what? It's playing at the drive-in theater in Ocala, where not too far from where I live. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to load up the kids. We're going to go see it. We're going to catch it. Why? Why am I feeding money into this giant money-making machine just a few pennies away from $2 billion? Part of it for me is nostalgia. 12 years is a long time. I went and saw this movie with my 3-year-old daughter, and she's going to be 17 in a month. That's all, so it's a nostalgia factor. It's a, you know what? I want to know where these characters ended up. I want to know the continuation of this story. Is it Pocahontas 2? Is it Ferngully? No, I won't say Ferngully 2. But I mean, where did it go? It wasn't enough to drive me to go see it when it first came out. But I'm like, you know what? It's an event, is what it is. How like when we were younger, when we went to the theaters, it was we went to the theaters, we played at the arcade in the arcade games, and ate whatever, and some of
Area
us might
51.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly.
But I'm like, but 12 years later, I haven't heard anything wonderful, great about the movie, but I also haven't heard anything bad about the movie. So for me, it's curiosity and maybe some nostalgia factor. And so they're going to get me and the brood that I've spawned is going to go with me. We're going to go see it. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe I still have a little bit of faith in Cameron. Maybe I also want to see what is Sam Worthington up to these days.
He's been doing voiceovers, hasn't he? And voice acting.
I believe he has. Yes.
I mean, he's been, but
I like him as an actor. I actually think that Terminator Salvation's a decent movie. I think that his role in that movie was pretty good. Yeah, I liked it. It's not the best Terminator film, but it's okay. I really enjoyed his part in it. So there's that. I loved the original Avatar at the time. I saw it like twice or 3 times in the theater. I have it on Blu-ray. I haven't watched it in probably 11 years. But it was the big event. It was this is a reason to own Blu-ray, right? We didn't get another reason until pretty much the Avengers, or I think the Avengers movie. So he's like Michael Bay in that regard. He's a trendsetter in how people view movies, and I don't mean like how people view. I mean like literally how they view movies. So we're going to go to a screen that's going to have new technology. We're going to go to something and have an event. It's going to change the way movies are done because he's going to set a standard and the industry is going to move there. You could probably blame him for the Marvel quality of their films optically, at least, right?
Right.
So there's probably cameras that were created just for Avatar that have trickled into the high professional camera market. There are shots that are being done by helicopters and all kinds of like grips and all that stuff that he's going to bring to market. So that go on behind the scenes. That it's a rising tide raises all ships. So it is okay, I think to watch his movies in 2023. So,
and go ahead. I'm sorry.
What he had said. Remember, I'm sure we've probably seen some portions of the interviews back in the day. He said, I had the idea of Pandora and Avatar like 15 years ago, but I had to wait for technology to catch up.
Yep.
So to make it what I wanted to be. And he said something similar. And part of the reason he waited, for some of the duration between 1 and 2 was also waiting for the next steps and for technology and for the advancement, which I'm sure, as you said, he probably had a hand in because he knew what he wanted to do. He just needed to find a way to get to do what he wanted to do. So I think you're right there, Mr. Ansible.
Well, and that's an interesting point. A lot of the technology he's developed specifically for his movies has changed the game for the movie franchises as a whole. So I think it's really a number of things. It's the success of the first movie. It's nostalgia. It's also an event, and we haven't had very many movie events. I guess the only other one I can think of would be Top Gun Maverick, Spider-Man No Way Home. Outside of that, those are the three biggest movies we've seen of the last 18 months, and it's not even close. Doctor Strange scored somewhere in the $875 million. That's the highest ranking one that did not hit $1 billion. So you can kind of see a bit of a drop off there. All right. So the next topic on the list is China has not released a Marvel movie for the last 3 years, but I'm not saying it's a coincidence, but I'm not saying it's not. Uncle Bob Iger comes back to Disney, kicks out Bob Chapek, and all of a sudden we've got movies in China again. I'll leave that to you, what you think about it. What do you think about China releasing Marvel movies again? But just to let you know, it'll be Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and Black Panther: Wakanda Forever are the 2 movies that they're announced that they're going to release here soon.
I'll start off.
Okay.
My comment is I'm not going into it. No comment.
You need some intro music and
Awesome.
Something. Yeah, his pictures actually froze, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but I'm a little concerned about what may be going on there. But that's okay. We're going to be all right.
From an outside standpoint, it's a business decision from both ends to agree to do it. So, you know what? If it's business, that's my comment.
Ansible, what about you?
I don't know how much I would put on Chapek, versus the pandemic versus, things that we know about, the current government of China. I think that Disney's business with China is hypocritical and in many different ways, but I'm not going to tell somebody they're wrong for buying iPhones, and I'm not going to tell them they're wrong for watching Disney movies that open in China, and they rely on the Chinese people to enjoy those movies and to go out and watch those movies. I know I don't have that right, so I agree it's just business, and it may be dirty business, but it is business. And if that's what's keeping American companies afloat and people in jobs, I can't complain too much. I mean, I'm going to complain, but I can't really. I'll keep it to myself.
So one of the things Earl and I talked about the other day was, Ant-Man is not really usually one of the higher performing properties of Marvel. It's usually a $400-500 million movie. Maybe this kicks that number up some. How significantly, we don't know, with the different COVID lockdowns that they have today, maybe not tomorrow in China with some of the geopolitical things they're dealing with. But we'll see how much that actually adds to the overall haul of the Marvel Studios. Just as a reminder, though, to our listeners, remember, the deal with China is Disney gets about 20% of the return on whatever is made as a whole. So it's not as significant as they get domestically. It's not as significant as they get from other international countries as well. All right. Next thing I have on the list is...
Did we lose Lord Cephas?
Well, he's talking about the money. You're not going to be making as much money, 20%, but you also have to factor in the fact that America
All right, everybody. We had a bit of an internet issue, but we are back. Earl, I believe you had something else you wanted to say about the Marvel-China discussion we were having.
Yeah, so pretty much it comes down to numbers. If everybody in America went and saw it, that's 330 million people, 330 million tickets. And if just a third of China went and saw it, that's 500 million tickets. So it's all about numbers. So I'll pass it back to you that I interrupted you as you were talking.
No, you're fine. I'd really had all I had on that. I guess the next topic on our list is The Last of Us.
I had something to say
Oh, I'm
about
sorry. Go
China.
ahead. Well, go
Um,
ahead.
so it is a numbers thing, and you see, Blizzard, Activision Blizzard,
Yeah.
Microsoft, they've all tried to penetrate the Chinese market because they know that video games have been, or consoles, I should say, have been illegal in China. They have a few that are legal, but they're nothing more than gaming PCs. Like black market gaming PCs have been turned into things that look like consoles. Microsoft was, I think, the first official or one of the first official consoles that they let over here. Microsoft would beg, plead, and steal to get into that market, because if they can get a fraction of of people, Xboxes and Xbox Live subscriptions, they're golden. They don't even care about the American markets. And I do think that it's like rising tides raise all ships. I
Sure.
do not begrudge them trying to break into new markets. What I do fear and what I do think is happening is that every company except for Tesla has a CCP branch division, almost like HR within the company. This is every single company in China that is ran by a foreign office except for Tesla.
Mhm.
And that tends to do unsavory, they have influence. They can say, no, this can't go. They've done it.
Mhm.
They've shrunk people on posters. They've told, they've said, no, we're not playing this particular thing in China. I mean, Ghostbusters wasn't allowed in China for a while, right?
Right.
There are certain things that they don't do, and whether they're right or wrong for doing it, it's okay for them. But when they impact, America in the West, I am like, our companies are in America. They are registered in America. They only have existed because they started here. And when they start to basically make American media, Chinese media, they can jump off a cliff.
Mhm.
And if they go broke, I'm not going to sit here and bemoan it at all. And if they don't hit the mark in China, well, they only have themselves to blame. But at the same time, it's a big slot machine, and they're winning because there are a lot of people there, and there are a lot of people that are interested in some of the things that are influenced by Western ideas. They're just cool, right? I mean,
Right.
comics are cool, superheroes are cool, Star Wars is cool. And certainly some of those ideas actually come from, influences from the East. So it is you know, we all share something. But when you have a political group that is telling you you can't have spirituality in your shows, you can't have ghosts, you can't have anything that would make our people think, that's that's anathema to what we do here in the West.
And that's a fair point. But as both of you have said earlier in this, business, I'm not saying we love it, but it's the economics of how the entertainment industry works. All right. One last topic that we do want to talk about, and that is the series premiere. The very first episode of The Last of Us premiered this past Sunday night on HBO and HBO Max. I know both of you have seen that first episode and kind of want to get a little bit of an idea of what you all thought of it. Broken Ansible, I know we've talked about it a little bit. Let's start with you. What were your thoughts on the first episode?
So I didn't even realize it was coming out so soon,
Mhm.
until about November. and I wasn't really looking forward to it. I was kind of as almost an event to see, hey, I have a curiosity because the game plays cinematic,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of themes in this show that I want to see conveyed into the big screen or the small screen. I thought I was gonna hate it, and I know there's a lot of people online that are poo-pooing it, but my first impression was they did a really good job of giving me the feeling I had playing the game for the first time, the opening scene of the video game. The opening scene of the video game plays out somewhat like this extended, intro in the show. Of course, differences, but it's very inspired. And I thought, you know what? I can't fault you for this. This
Right.
is I like the actor, I thought his daughter was a pretty, good um, you know, what not a MacGuffin, but she brought you through the world that's ended. When she died, sorry, spoiler, she sets a tone, right? Um, this is I saw the allegories, I saw what's going on. I liked it. I want to see where they go. It does get you. It's like they put you in the first 30 minutes of the video game. So we'll see what they do with the rest, because the rest is pretty dark, not just like lighting wise, but also in theme. So we'll see if they can keep it up. But I think it's on a good foot. It's good. It has a good course. We'll see if they can keep it.
All right, good stuff there, Broken. Earl, what about you?
Well, it was just completely no. I never played the video game. I do know how it plays out. So and I knew what genre it was, so I was curious to watch it. And I still have HBO, so that's a good thing. So I sat down and I watched it. I think it was Monday, maybe. Now I guess it's good for them that I guess there were some issues with their servers or whatnot about connecting to HBO Max at 9 o'clock. I guess would have dropped because so many people were clicking on it. And from what I've heard, it's supposed to be one of their biggest watches ever. And so the numbers, if they'll ever give them up with a doubt, if they're being truthful in that, have to be massive, because you've got like Westworld and Game of Thrones and all these other, The Sopranos and Sex and the City. You have all these shows that were massive hits and massive numbers. So I mean, if it managed to top all of them, then HBO must be very, very happy right now. As for the story, I enjoyed it. I knew loosely what was going to happen, so it had a nice feel to it. You enjoyed the characters, the characterization that the actors portrayed. Now, one of the actors in it, one of the main characters in it, the actor portraying the character are almost exactly the same age. So that made me. I mentioned it to you, and I gave you the spoiler for it. I won't spoil it for all of our image fans out there. But I enjoy it because, like Tulsa Kings, we had mentioned also previous weeks ago, how Sylvester Stallone portrays somebody who's his actual age, and it's refreshing. I found it almost more enjoyable saying, okay, I know how old he is. I know how old his character is. I want to see how he reacts, how he responds with whatever happens in the show. Now, as Broken Ansible mentioned, there are some heartstring pulls in the first episode, but after I don't know, maybe 20 minutes into the show, the tempo the pacing slows down, and you get a slower reveal and introduction to how things work and this and that. So I thoroughly enjoyed the first like 20 minutes. Then it will slow down. I'm like, okay, I have to, it's introducing us, trying to get us to understand the world that it's set in. And so, again, I won't spoil anything, but at the end of the first episode, it leaves it where there's a hint at the end of the episode that tells you that the pacing may be about to pick up, or it may not. So I'm curious to see how it goes. Again, as Broken Ansible mentioned, in the game, there's some scares at you, pop scares, or jump scares. So in the vein of Resident Evil, there are lighting issues in the games designed specifically to set a mood for the player. So I'm curious if they can keep it light enough so we can't see anything. How some shows or movies have done where they're fighting or this or that, and it's almost in the dark and you have no idea what's going on. So hopefully we can stay away from that. But I'm interested enough as a relative newbie to the franchise. Again, I didn't play the game, so I will be tuning in to watch the next episode to see how it goes. And for those who are like, isn't this the Mandalorian? Yes, you're right. It's the Mandalorian. But, the reason he's able to do both is he gave a shout out to his two stuntmen who, are his body doubles in the Mandalorian. One is Lateef Crowder, who is a stuntman who's a prolific martial artist in a lot of films. Actually, one of my favorite ones with him was in The Protector with Tony Jaa. And then the other one is Brendan Wayne, who is the grandson of Western legend John Wayne. Again, just two random facts I'm throwing out there. But thank you to both of them for filling in the literal and figurative boots of the Mandalorian. So Pedro Pascal can fill in The Last of Us because he looks like the character too. So I think that's a great bit of casting there too.
He's pretty close. I think Pascal has actually gained weight. He was in Game of Thrones.
Yep.
And he was really lanky. I mean, he was fit, but he still had his youthful length to him. Now he's like, wow, he's packed on some muscle and pounds. I will say that in the game, lighting is really important, but sound is important. So, as we are revealed as an audience who never played the game, what these creatures are and how they actually, hunt and how they, why they're so scary. It'll be interesting to see how they portray that in the show, because sound is key. I remember this time in the game, it's very, very beginning, where you're going in a subway and you're in the dark. And I mean, you are in the dark. You make noise, man. You hear these things everywhere and you don't realize how close they are. And then you make your way out and you notice that, oh, this was a skyscraper that's like sideways. Like you're in a skyscraper going sideways, looking for stuff in it. And it's like, oh my gosh. So the set pieces as well are a big driver to the video game. The lush, beautiful, lands, the desolation scenes, like you see Boston, I believe, in the in this one, and you just see kind of like the overgrowth and the world's interesting. Nature's taking things back. It'll be interesting to see how big and massive they can show it. And also being able to zoom in on those close quarter moments that the video game is definitely known for. So we'll see if they keep it up.
I do like it how you mentioned sound, because for me, one of the movies that did that for me was the Predator movies. Well, everything's quiet and you hear, and you're like, oh, it's about to get real.
that was almost perfect.
That
Also,
was good. Yeah.
that's not too dissimilar to
Yeah.
what you get in the video game.
But yeah, it's I do understand what you're talking about with the audio, the what you hear. Oh, I mean they do a little bit in other horror movies, but mostly it's the and you're like, it's the music. But I mean, when you hear the specific antagonist, whether it's an animal, creature, whatever, those sounds, you're like, oh no, it's about to get real. Run!
Right.
Yeah, so if you have a set piece in the game that is you versus humans, right? They live in a world where noise is very key to survival.
Yep.
And humans are very emotional creatures. They tend to yell, they tend to hyperventilate. We have all sorts of, responses to it. What's that?
Cool a little bit when we're scared.
Oh yeah.
Ignore it.
So how the actors are told to react in a set environment where there's a threat, but it may not be immediate. How are they going to walk on eggshells? Are they going to, be very quiet but kind of look around at each other and kind of give motions, or are they going to freeze? I mean, because when you play the game, and they're very relevant, they've released it twice on the PS3, they remastered on the PS4, they're issuing a remake on the PS5, and they have a sequel on the PS4 that's probably going to get a release on the PS5 or if it's not already, and I believe it's on the PC. It may be on the PC. So this is a game that is I think it's on the PC. So it's pretty big right now as a game. So it's not like Avatar, we're coming back to an old friend. It's like, are you going to do the thing that I love right now justice? And I think that'll be an interesting thing for them to do, and it may even solidify or destroy relationships with Sony. So we'll see.
It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Really good takes from both of you on that. I'd like to end on a happy note and a positive note. Sometimes we have to talk about stuff that's not always the most fun and positive, but for both of you, I have an article I want to share with you all just to get your feedback here. Give me just a second.
Hey, while you cue that up, I just watched Tulsa King. So if you want to talk about it real quick, we can. If I know that you said you already talked about it last week.
We just touched on it. I am about halfway through the series. I have not made it all the way through, but Earl has. He's seen all the episodes.
Well, maybe we can do another one in a week or two when you catch up, and we can do a touch on Tulsa King's one of the topics, because I want to give it love. I do.
Well, Broken, do you want to just say a couple of things, and we'll hit it hard maybe next time and really dive deep into it?
Yeah, I think it's a very smart show. It's not really family friendly show, but it really, like, Sylvester Stallone knocks it out the park. He should win an Emmy for it, or Tony, or whatever they give out to TV people.
Right.
It's one of the best. Like, my uncle loved it. I mean, he was just like laughing. I mean, it's funny, it's gritty, it's kind of like it moves. It has the pace of a show. It feels like a movie, but it moves like a show. And I think they've struck gold with it. And I'm hoping they don't ruin it. I did think it fell flat on the season finale because it moved in the way you hoped it would. So there was no like twists or turns. It's just like, yep. So I think Sylvester Stallone, and he really does make it. He does make that show. Like, he knocks it out the park. His supporting cast is great, but he really knocks it out the park.
The fish out of water thing just works. It just works. He plays that as perfectly as you can. It's
built-in intrigue.
Yeah.
Like, and you don't have to like create the story. The story is already there for you.
Mhm.
And
It-
it's twice over for him because he's an ex-con and he's been in prison for so long. So he's a fish out of water as a fish out of water.
Exactly. Well, you know what I find interesting is you have an actor with the history and the legacy, if you want to use that term, of Sylvester Stallone, has no trouble poking fun at himself. And so, you know, I respect that he's like, you know, I don't take everything so seriously. I know he takes the Creed stuff seriously, and we can talk about that another day because that's still an issue for him that they're doing another movie and that he's not a part of it. But I think Tulsa, at least from the first 4 episodes that I've seen, been very, very good. We'll talk about it a little bit more in depth when I get a chance to see the whole thing. I have an article for you all. I think this is going to lift your spirits, if nothing else will. And I hope you, the viewers at home or wherever you're listening, enjoy this as well. This comes from The Direct, and the article title says it all. She-Hulk gets awarded with a VFX nomination. I mean, I saw that, and I was blown away.
Is it from the Raspberries?
No,
No.
this is a legitimate article. Other series that were nominated. This was nominated for outstanding animated character in an episode, commercial, or real-time project by the 21st Annual Visual Effects Society Awards. There you go.
So Miss Marvel doesn't get it,
Nope.
but She-Hulk does.
She-Hulk, another show, The Umbrella Academy, which we touched on in times past, The Callisto Protocol, which I have not seen, Skull and Bones are the other nominees as well.
The Callisto Protocol is a game, though. So,
well,
It's actually a movie as well.
is it?
Yep, it's I saw the trailer for it and I'm like, I thought this was a game. And
Yeah.
I looked at no, it's a movie that they made. So I haven't watched it, but the trailer is like, interesting.
I'll have to go check out the trailer as soon as we get done here.
well, you know, anyone who's heard me on the show knows my how do I say this? My affection for She-Hulk. So to see this article tonight, really, you know, it warmed my heart. So I had to share it with you, the viewers and listeners. I knew you would all appreciate it. All right. I've got one last topic tonight, and this was going to be just a little bit off topic, kind of getting to know us a little bit as we've been relaunching here. Earl, you know what's coming on this one. I'm going to ask you point blank, give me 1, 2, maybe 3 at the most. We've all watched a lot of TV in our lives growing up. We grew up in the 80s, 90s, heard a lot of jingles. We've heard a lot of themes. They don't play them as much on newer shows. They just kind of have quick 8-second cuts and that's it. And then they announce the actors and actresses once the show actually starts. Give me just a couple of your favorite theme songs from TV shows past or present.
All right, number one, which everybody knows, which is part of the reason I chose it. I mean, it is. You could literally. I'll start the theme song and see if y'all can continue it. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Okay, you can do that anywhere, and people know the song. It's catchy. Once it's in your head, there's no way to get it out unless you pull an X-Men 2 and you take a drill and bore it out. I do not recommend it. It doesn't do well, and it's very messy. But I mean, it's one of those songs that it is catchy, it is annoying, but you will not forget it. Like the campfire song. Once you hear it, it's in there forever.
Well,
so that has to be my number one, SpongeBob SquarePants.
Is that your number one song or the number one hated song? Because you kind of left me confused.
No, that would be my number one song. I think over 20 years, and what is that, 3 generations worth of people that have seen SpongeBob now, and that if you,
you really enjoy doing that, don't you?
I sometimes do it in the bathroom when I have, but now I have a regular beard. I don't have to use a soap beard. I'm like, ha ha, I'm a tea.
Neither Broken nor myself knew where that was going. Thank you for keeping it PG because we had no idea what was coming next. All right, just for that, you are not allowed to talk anymore about that. Broken, do you have any favorite theme songs that when you hear it, it takes you back to a happy place in life or something that you really enjoy?
I got several. Are we gonna do back and forth?
We can, that's fine.
So I'm gonna I'll give you my number one. Or actually let me start back at I'm gonna give you four.
Okay.
Three?
All right.
We'll see. I think Three's Company.
Oh, a deep cut,
And
old school.
yeah. That is very memorable for me.
Okay.
I think I can, sometimes I'm just like hum it to myself.
Broken, do you have any, or I'm sorry, Earl, do you have any more you want to mention, or you want me to take one?
You take one, that way we'll just ping pong off each other.
All right. I know this is a controversial take, and I accept that going forward. But as a kid growing up, I loved the Dukes of Hazzard theme song. Absolutely loved it. Still love it to this day.
Yeah.
So
I
so
can see
I'm
that.
not going to walk that one back. I like that song very much. Earl, how about you?
My next one,
Sure.
Go Power Rangers,
Oh.
the OG version. Okay, we're going
Ooh,
there.
interesting. Look at Earl just going off the reservation. Nice. Did
Don't
you
worry,
just-
they'll be back.
did you literally just do the John Cena thing? Wow. Okay. Yeah. 5-knuckle shuffle. We can still see you, John. We can still see you. All right.
I mean,
Well,
come on. It's a classic. Everybody, it's one of those things where you can go, and then people start talking, which Power Ranger TV show was your favorite? Who was your favorite Ranger? What was your favorite color? Or you could just pick Tommy, rest in peace, who, was every color, including pink. That's not
no,
technically
he wasn't.
but in my head, he is. He was every Power Ranger.
Oh, if I had a mute button. All right, Broken, try to save this train wreck.
My next one's going to be Law and Order.
Dun.
Yeah.
The
And
original.
the
Yep.
outro.
Yep.
Dun dun dun.
That is really good. Very iconic.
Yeah.
I like that one. All right. I'm going to give a deep cut that probably no one's going to remember because there are no words to it, but it was a series from 1984 to 1987. 3 seasons on CBS, 1 season on the
Falcon
fledgling.
Crest.
No, but I remember that one too.
Dallas.
I'll get there. Stop taking my stuff. I'm saying Airwolf with that
Oh,
that
wow.
synthesized theme song that was so 1980s.
Oh, I can't show it. Can you see it?
No, we can't.
Airwolf is on my list.
All right, I'll take that. I love it. Listen to it. Do yourself a favor. I'm going to suggest you do the season 1. That one I think had the best mix versus all the other seasons. See, by the time they got to season 4, similar synthesized music, but a little different because USA Network was producing the show extremely on the cheap. So that would be another one. Earl, how about you? Give me another one.
Was one of them, but one that was so close. SWAT.
Wow.
Come on.
That's almost like Dragnet.
Almost, yeah. That's a deep cut as well. All right, Broken, how about you?
MacGyver.
I assume you mean the original, not the
Yes.
CBS remake. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about on that remake.
I understand. It's okay. It was a Friday night show anyway. You're a busy man on Friday nights. I'm going to give you one in the same similar vein. I'm going to say, and y'all are going to laugh at this, but Magnum PI.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Excellent theme.
I love that show.
We don't acknowledge the second one that, by the way, was canceled by CBS recently, but moved to NBC for those who follow that show.
Yep. For me, I have 2 more. This is one of them. It would be Nightmare.
Oh, you got mine.
Down to the saxophone, brother.
Relatively unknown Marvel show from 97 to 99. I personally loved it. It was cheesy as all get out. You can get the DVD series online for like $25, or you can go to IMDb and stream it for free on that. Or the Roku channel streams it as well. Does it tie into the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Absolutely not. Does it matter? Absolutely not. I love it. And Earl, I support it. Broken, how about you?
Full House.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. That's in a similar vein where I've got as well. Now, let me throw mine out real quick, and y'all are gonna probably think this one is funny. I'm gonna say Family Matters.
There you go.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it was a reminder of family and time. You had your TGIF lineup there on Friday
I
nights.
mean, we could just say dinosaurs as well. I mean, you have the trifecta.
It's not the same movie or the same
Her-
show.
Perhaps one of
It
the
is.
most, yeah, it may be one of the most depressing final episodes ever in the history of it's underrated, dark, and depressing for a kid's show. Do yourself a favor and go check out the final episode when the asteroids are getting ready to hit the earth. They're talking about how life's going to continue and everything's fine, blah, blah, blah. And then we all know what's going to happen. Yeah, it's
Those three shows, I mean, created TGIF for me. And
Oh
That's
yeah,
right.
and step by step.
Yep.
You know,
and
I like
oh,
step by
wow.
step. I like step by step.
Yep. Yep.
And Boy Meets World.
Boy Meets World's good.
Yeah, that's pretty
I
good
love
as well.
That right
I'm
age
not-
group didn't like it. So
I'm not so keen on the new one, but
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
it's kind of
okay.
hokey.
Yeah. Well, at a certain point, nostalgia does turn hokey. It's cool at first, but then it kind of no.
Dancing Sister, Topanga.
Yeah.
Do you want a moment there for that? By the way, random fact: the young lady who plays Topanga, a big wrestling fan. Just throwing that out there for those who care. I'm going to give you one more, and I could do this all night because I have all kind of jingles that go through my head. The Golden Girls.
Ooh.
Yeah. I can see it.
It's just one of those songs that sticks in your head. Every time you're flipping through the channels and it comes on, you stop for a minute because it's going to play in your head, even if you keep on going. Even though there is talk that they're going to do a Golden Girls reboot, you may reboot without me. I know who the Golden Girls were, and y'all are not them. So that's just my personal opinion. Earl, any more you want to share?
Yep, my last one is I love the sound of it. Plus, it was enjoyable TV show for the most part. Angel, the violin.
Ooh.
I love
Ooh.
the yeah.
Good choice. Good choice. Yeah. Anytime you have a vampire hunter or a demon hunter named Wesley,
Don't be
good
knocking
stuff.
my boy Wesley Wyndham Price. Okay, he has one of the greatest character arcs in TV. To go from a geeky, nerdy bookworm, fancy pants to, a rough and grumble, Lingo's own pack. When you have one of the characters go, dude, what happened to you? And he goes, I had my throat slit and all my friends abandoned me. Mic drop.
That's a pretty good line. Good choice. I'm gonna give you that one. All right, Broken. Do you have one more you want to give us?
Well, I have two more. Can I give
Go
you
ahead.
all right. So
Oh, dude, you're always welcome. Go ahead.
the first one is Hardcastle McCormick.
Oh, yes,
I
yes.
mean, if you really want to, I was gonna say like Barnaby Jones, but
That would have been okay. I would have actually
Yeah.
known what that was.
yeah, I think Barnaby Jones and Madlock, you could always go with that, but those aren't on the list. The other one is the original Battlestar Galactica.
Oh.
Oh,
It-
that's
It
good.
is theme music of theme musics. First of all, it's a movie and
Right.
it's a show.
Yeah.
So it had its like, and even the 1980, Battlestar Galactica 80 is
Yes. Tell us
not-
about Galactic 1980. I'm a supporter of that
it's
series.
cheese of cheese.
It is.
It
It is.
So it's the chips of sci-fi.
Wow. You know what? I never thought about that. It really is.
So which is also has a distinct, intro song.
Smell, aroma from a farm. Yes. Continue.
Yeah.
I find your hatred disturbing. That's what
I
I'm saying.
find it fulfilling. It fills my heart with hate.
TBS had a lot of good chaff going on. They
Yep.
did the Barnaby Jones in the morning along with Matlock has a pretty big thing in the heat of the night. is
Oh,
also
that's a
big
good one. That is a good one.
That I think they
Like,
probably have the biggest, if I really am being honest here, if we're just talking retro stuff,
Mhm.
between Battlestar Galactica and then Heat of the Night, those are probably the standouts because everybody knows in the Heat of the Night, it's the face of Mississippi.
You know what? It really is.
I thought Gene Hackman was
What's that?
Mississippi. Oh wait, no.
No, you just need to sit there and be quiet. You are officially muted. Okay. We're going to talk to the adults in the room here.
Spencer for Hire.
Who's that?
Spencer
The
for Hire.
Love-
What? Spencer for Hire wasn't bad.
Spencer,
The
yeah,
Love Boat.
yeah,
But-
but
Love Boat.
yeah, oh my gosh, that okay,
Oh.
you could have won if you had just led with that.
Yeah, but you didn't.
Yeah,
So
you
Gilligan's
missed,
Island.
you missed the boat.
What about
Ah,
Gilligan's Island?
what?
I thought Gilligan's Island.
That's
Gosh,
a good.
you
know-
know, this train doesn't stop, does it?
No,
No, it
it does not. So I'm just because it won't stop. I'm just going to throw out Happy Days.
Oh my gosh,
Oh.
happy days.
You know what? This is the kind of and see it. It
And it
lasted
came back
years.
with Weezer. It came back. It became, they took the whole idea of Happy Days and condensed it into a freaking song that
Yep.
confused kids. Is this like an episode or is this lost footage? Or
Right?
is this like just a really good like reenact?
Well, I just wanted to see what you all thought about it. We took off there on a bit of a tangent, and I'm glad that we did. We got a little lost in that, much like Chuck Cunningham, the brother on Happy Days, who went upstairs or went to play basketball and never came back, or he's still upstairs in the house. I don't know exactly what's going
You could go with Family Ties as well.
on. Family Ties is good. I agree with that. All right. Well, we're going to come to an end. We're going to wrap this up,
So-
everybody. Yeah, we're going to wrap this up.
To watch it too.
All right, we are back. Sorry about that. We have one more from Earl. He's got to get this one out. What is it?
The eyes of Ranger are upon you.
Walker,
baby.
Walker, Texas Ranger. That's a mic drop right there, if ever there were one. Broken, do you have any more?
Yeah, I mean we were going through Quantum Leap. There's one.
Yeah.
And we did say the original Star Trek.
That's
But
a
then
good one.
DS9 and I did like Enterprises.
Yeah.
Well, it's
that's,
definitely been a long road tonight getting from there to here in this particular episode. I will say that.
Yeah, that was what that's the musician. He was big in the 80s.
It wasn't Rod Stewart,
That wasn't Rod Stewart.
was it?
I think that's Rod Stewart's song. Yeah,
Oh.
I'm pretty sure that's one of his songs from the 90s.
And well, it's been a long road between the whiskey and the cigarettes, and he lost his. That's what happened when you sing.
Yeah, he was saying he was in the media recently. He's got a kid, like a teenager. This guy's like 90 years old and he's running around like he's 40. So,
Oh, he's on the
maybe
Keith. He's on the Keith Richards plan, is what you're saying.
yeah, pretty much.
I saw a meme, and we'll close with this the other day. You remember the episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation where they thaw that family out of cryostasis, and they're like,
Yep.
Counselor Troy tells lady, all your family are dead. But then they piped in, except Keith Richards. So, I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's probably true. All right, everyone. We thank you for joining us this week. Next week, we'll be back at the same time, uploading our content to you. Hopefully, we'll have a second show next week, and Ansible will be joining us. Hopefully, we'll talk a little bit of sports entertainment. For those of you not familiar with that term, it's a little bit of wrestling. It'll be on a different show, so you don't have to suffer through it on Midnight Magic Musings if you don't want to. Look for that probably on Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. And with that, Earl, thank you for being here as always. Broken, thank you for joining us. We hope this can become a regular thing where you can come keep us straight. I am Lord Cephas, your humble host and tour guide. Everybody have a wonderful evening. Have a great day whenever you listen to this, and we will see you next week. We are
Bye-bye.
out.